Hey, well, hi everyone, and thank you very much for watching or listening. Liam Hartree here today with another episode of Presenting Champions. Today is episode 233, and today the Hulk is in the house. That's what I'll say about today's guest. Very, very special guest who I'm really honored to have on the show, Tony Johnson Jr. Obviously, professional MMA competitor, has won multiple world titles, including the ACA World Heavyweight title, the BKB world title in bare knuckle boxing, King of the Cage world title. He's fought some of the biggest and the best names out there, including Daniel Cormier, Alexander Emelianenko, Derek Lewis. So many names competed for the best organizations in the world. We've got King of the Cage, Bellator, One Championship, so many others. So today we're going to be talking about everything that it takes to compete in the highest level of one of the toughest sports in the world, mixed martial arts, bare knuckle boxing as well, and a lot more. So, Champ, thank you for coming on the show. It's like I said, it's a real honor, man. I'm blessed to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be on the show. Appreciate it.
No worries at all. Well, hopefully I did that intro justice because you've done a lot, and we will be talking about the past and everything shortly. But before we do, let's look to the future because at the time of this interview, you've got a big fight coming up on the 9th of March, I believe, Moscow. Talk to us about that fight, about how your preparations are going, how you're feeling on the build up to it, and just everything on the build up to the fight, please, champ. That would be amazing.
Well, the training's going really well. I locked in. As everyone know, I'm on a 2-fight losing streak, which has never happened in my career. But it's about me not complaining and staying focused on the task at hand. Which is my next opponent. Like I said, training's going good. I'm healthy. My weight's good. I'm in better shape than I've ever been in before. Mentally, I'm good. I'm locked in. And I'll be ready for whatever he brings to me March 9th. I'm excited about it. This is my first fight on my tournament. For the $1 million tournament. Like I said, it's just I'm excited to get back in there and get back into the win column.
Absolutely, absolutely. No doubt you will do that. The other thing that's quite exciting about this fight as well is it is a Grand Prix as well. Obviously, the prize money, as far as I understand it, for the final stages of that is pretty massive. Some people will be familiar with this watching the show. Some people won't be as familiar with the ACA format and everything. So can you just explain a little bit about how that works just for anyone who's not in the know, please?
Yeah. So I mean, you do basically for me. I think it could be different for every fighter, but it's for me. It's my whatever I have in my contract. My very first 2 fights is the same. My last fight is where I get the prize money. So they're not giving you that money until you deserve it, until you earn it. But I like I said, the win. So you get your money to show, get your money to win. So the money to win is like it's like $1 million, So which is exciting, because they pay cash. Everybody loves cash, it's freaking awesome, man. ACA is a great organization, man. I know people. I have a lot of friends that are worried because I'm going to Russia, man. Russian people are cool. You just don't bring weed, you know what I mean? You respect the laws, you respect the people, and you'll get out okay, So, like I said, I'm excited about the tournament. The tournament's gonna be awesome. I know I'm probably going to fight. I know for sure I'll fight some guys I fought before. I know Evgeny. I lost to him, but I'm going to be going for him again. And Rusalov. That's the first loss I had when I lost my title. I'm hunting for him again, so I'm just hunting for blood right now.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, very, very exciting, sort of the tournament format and everything. The money, yeah, cash is king. Absolutely awesome position to be in. I think it's really inspiring for the young fighters out there as well, really showing what can be done, the levels you can get to in this game. Something else to touch on with ACA, just to give them a quick mention as well, because obviously you fought for, well, pretty much all of the best promotions out there. Pretty big question, I know, but just in terms of working with them, your experiences with them and what that's like and everything, just to give them a shout out really would be good.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. ACA is probably one of the best organizations I fought for. They really respect the people. They're a Muslim background, so like everybody thinks that Muslims are crazy, but man, they're very peaceful people. They want, it's very, it's very cut and dry. Hey, they expect you to do this, and if you follow these guidelines, you have no problem with these guys. So Business wise, they're top notch. They've never had a problem with any financial anything I've needed. Like I say, I forgot a mouthpiece, which I never did. But let's say if I needed something leading up to the fight, they're gonna make sure you feel at home. They take care of the food. It's just a great organization. I have the most respect for everyone in that league.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned something else here as well. Obviously, you mentioned about the losses. Now, just to sort of precursor this, I don't dwell on anything negative in my interviews. It's all about, the inspiration and positivity, lessons you've learned from your career. So rather than dwelling on the losses themselves, the concept of bouncing back from, the back-to-back losses, finding the mental strength as well as the physical strength to go again. I mean, obviously, I know you've been fighting a long time, but I still think there could be some valuable life lessons in that process of coming back from a loss rather than the loss itself, if you get what I mean with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. It shouldn't be like Debbie Downer, right, on your show, because at the end of the day, it's a part of the game, right?
Yeah.
And it's mental exercises, right? It's like either you can complain, whine, bitch, moan, groan about what had happened, or you can shut up and go to work. Moaning and groaning and whining doesn't do anything for you. And that's why the Russian people have so much respect for me, because I don't know if you guys know this, but like when I fought Alexander Emelianenko, I beat him so bad, all I could do is give me a draw. I didn't complain, I didn't whine, I didn't cry. I just went back to work. And that's what this thing is about. It's just going back to work. You have to learn how to take your wins and how to take your losses. And that's I think a lot of the fighters that I come across, when they lose, it's like the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. It's just to show you what you got to work on, what you got to change. So go back to work, be quiet, and that's it. And that's what I do. I've done that my whole career. You've never seen me complain one time about me losing. I've never made an excuse. I just put my head down and I go to work. At the end of the day, even when I lose, I still hold my head up high, because I know 95% of people out there they can't do this. Like, it takes a special person to do this. So hold your head up high with the losses, hold your head up high with the wins, and get to work.
Yeah. Well, it's a powerful lesson there, champ. I mean, it's a powerful life lesson as well that I think people can apply to anything that they're pursuing. Obviously it applies in sports, but it applies in life. So wonderful. And we'll get into some more topics like that shortly. Before we do, though, obviously at the beginning, I was rattling off, some of the names you've been in there with, some of the titles you've won. We've started off talking about the future, but just looking back for a moment, you've achieved a lot in your career, and obviously there's more to come. Do you have particular fights, particular world titles that are your proudest, your personal favorite? That's where I'm going with this, because, something about winning a world title once is special. Getting in there with another massive name is special. But, you've done these things many times. So I know this is a pretty big question. I'm sorry about that. But are there certain ones that stand out to you as being your personal favorites? And if so, what is the reason that those are your personal favorites?
I would say ACA is my favorite, right?
Mm.
For the pure fact of is people don't realize how hard it is to fight overseas. Like, first of all, the weight cut, and if like for a football team out there, you don't jump ship. You're going to ride with that football team all the way through, and that's the same thing with their fighters. Like, when I go overseas, I know for a fact that if I don't finish this guy, I can leave it to the hand judges, and it's probably not going to go my way, right? So, it's just about what else I'm saying. You have to like you have to dig deep, right? You can't let all that phase you. You got to be mentally strong for that stuff, So it's like when I go over there, I know those judges aren't going to go my favor. So that right there gives me so much motivation to finish these guys. You have to finish these guys. Like you just know they're not going to give you any love, no love at all. Especially as a Black American, right? I when I fought when I fought the first time when I beat what's his name? Emelianenko, right? There's a guy on the comments called me like a gorilla, right? And I can get mad, and I can and throw my comments in there, but no, I didn't. The way I got back at him was I knocked him out, and I took a picture and I put that under the comments. Like, it's about like when you fight overseas, you got it's a lot you got to deal with. And if you can make it overseas, you can make it anywhere. Like, it's just it's tough. It's tough. So I've been the only American champion in ACA. I've been so like that's for me to be a champion in a Russian organization, a Russian league is hard. It's tough. And that's why I have a lot of that people have a lot of respect for because I've done that. I've done that. And it's not an easy thing to do. So that's probably my first. My second was bare knuckles. That was fun. That's getting hit with a bare fist it's way different. But I would say my first is ACA.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes sense. It makes sense why as well. I'll come back to the bare knuckling in just a moment, but as soon as you brought up fighting overseas and that process, which you've done a lot, man, as well. This is the other thing. Do you have a favorite place that fighting has taken you? The reason I ask this is something people don't really touch on that much, I don't think. Again, it's inspiring for the young fighters as well that this sport can take people around the world. Big question. That seems to be the theme of the afternoon for us at the moment. But still, man, you fought in some amazing locations. You mentioned there about obviously not having the best experience with that judge or commentator, but in terms of places where you've had the warmest welcomes, you've had the best crowd atmosphere. I don't know exactly what form it'll take in terms of why it's your favorite, but just in your own words, it would be great to touch on that.
I think my favorite. Honestly, Russia's my favorite place to fight because they know every time I come there, I bring it. So they respect me. When I go there, I have a ton of fans. Moscow, St. Petersburg, those are places I love to be. They love me. I love the culture. They respect me. I respect them. So I'd definitely say Russia anywhere in Russia is my I love the fight because, like I said, they know me and they respect me because I've done the work. Like they're not. At first, they didn't respect me, of course, because you're a new guy coming to the country. You have to earn that respect. If you can earn respect by Russians, be respected by Russians, man, it's like you're winning. And I've done that.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. You have done that. Is their mentality towards fighters and towards combat sports quite different to in America? Because I had a guy on the show talking about Russia, Jeff Monson, who left America and actually became naturalized over there in Russia. He's done loads of jiu-jitsu, MMA, everything, obviously. And he spoke a little bit about the Russian people's respect for fighters being different to the USA, not necessarily better or worse, but just different, In your own words, what are your thoughts on them in terms of how they respect fighters, the atmosphere they create at fights, their mentality towards the fight game as a whole, if you get what I mean with this one?
Yeah, yeah. First of all, the Russian people have just grown up different. So for me, those are like the men of men because they go through war. They've just grown up a lot different than we have as Americans. And I don't know, I can't speak for other Europeans, but as far as that, I mean, those guys are mentally tough. Mentally tough, physically tough, good wrestling. So that's why I said ACA is the world title was my favorite belt because man, like whoever says a Russian guy's easy, like no one, like those guys are well respected across the world because people know how tough they are, yeah, so they're freaking they're so tough, man, and mentally strong, physically strong, just it's funny because people when you travel, and you're not at home, right? And you just when you're overseas and it's different, right? You're a little nervous to go out. The people seem very mean, but they're not. They're just they don't smile. People say Americans are. They say they can tell Americans because we smile for no reason. Like the Russians don't do that. So like people think they're like mean, but they're not mean. They're very cool people, but just very hardworking, very mentally strong. I have a buddy. His name is Haytat Plier. He was telling me, the reason why they're so good is because when they're young, let's say you get in a wrestling program, they don't have just a regular dad that thinks he knows about wrestling and teaching the kids. They have Olympic champions teaching you from when you're younger to when you get older. So like, yeah, it's way different.
Yeah, different mindset, different mentality. It's amazing to get your insights on it, having been there, spent so much time around that. What was the other thing? Oh, yeah, you mentioned about the bare knuckle side of things as well, which is something you sort of I've obviously gone into, as well as the MMA being your primary thing, you test yourself in different styles. I mean, I think you've done kickboxing as well. I think I've seen something to do with that. So, in terms
Boxing,
of
boxing.
your motivation to sort of step out of MMA and test yourself in different styles and try these different things, especially at the point when obviously you were more involved in bare knuckle boxing. It's gotten bigger since then. I think it was still coming up at the time you came into it. Basically, what was your motivation for that, to test yourself in something a little bit different?
Well, during my career, it's always been like my MMA career, start stop. Like I would have a fight and I have a fight for 7 months. I would have a fight and I have a fight for 2 years. It's like I told my manager, and I had switched when I had left. When I left Bellator, I went to Finance Global. I switched management companies as well. I went with Guillaume Peltier. He's out of Bulgaria, and I was like, look. Just find me anything you can find me. Let's just, I need to stay busy because I felt like every time I walked into the cage, I was dealing with cage rust. So I said, just find me whatever. He says, okay, let's do bare knuckle. I was like, let's go, let's do it. Like the reason why I have so much success is because, like, even though you may be scared, you may be nervous, if you say no, like your opportunity is done. Like you don't have a chance to grow. If you say yes, it could be the scary situation, but you find out so much about yourself than that fight or flight. Like you look at the end of the day, if I'm gonna say yes, I'm gonna fight you. Like we're gonna fight. I may be nervous, but like we're gonna fight and we're gonna figure it out. And I never show, like I've done it so long, so much. I don't even get nervous. I don't even get nervous anymore because I've done, but no, I've done it all. And another motivation for my fighting was finding other like boxing, kickboxing, and all that. It's because like when you're kickboxing, like your combinations are set up off your kick. So like right, left, hook, low kick, right? And boxing, like I wanted to be able to have my combinations not set up off of kicks. It's like, hey, have good combination with boxing and then throw some kicks. So it's like I've always just I've always want to learn different kind of sports. I've always want to learn kickboxing. I always learn boxing. So it's just and I've learned like when you box, those guys, they sit on their punches. Like those guys, like I've sparred 10 rounds with Deontay Wilder, right? That was the hardest 10 rounds of my life. Like I learned so much in those 10 rounds. I couldn't even chew after that sparring session. But you learn that you just learn about yourself in every little sport, every little thing, boxing, kickboxing. So I've done all that just because I wanted to grow as a fighter. It's you have to step out your comfort zone to grow. You can't grow if you're in your comfort zone. So I've always just made it a point to step out of my comfort zone and grow as a man and as a fighter.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I mean, you definitely do, with everything we've talked about so far, the different styles, fighting overseas as well. I mean, there's definitely a theme here of you sort of stretching yourself, pushing yourself past your limits in that way, which is very cool. A little bit of fight trivia then before we move on to a couple of other things. You said about the bare fist versus the MMA glove. In your own words, the difference there. Yeah, take it away with that one, please.
Like the bare fist, like there's no adrenaline that can match that. Like that like when he hit me, when dude hit me one time, like hit my lip, it just like vibrated through my whole face. I was like, yeah, we gotta move. We gotta move. Yeah, bare knuckle is just it's a tough sport. And I only fought bare knuckle once. Nobody wanted to challenge me for the title. So that I had a short bare knuckle boxing career, I guess. But yeah, bare knuckle is a different it's a different type of animal. You're going to get cut. Like if you luckily my fight only took 2 minutes, but had to take longer, I could have taken some damage and been cut. It's brutal. It's a brutal sport, but it's fun.
Yeah. We obviously enjoy it because your face sort of lights up talking about that, and a smile in your eyes type of thing. So very cool, man. Do you think that you're going to get back in and do that again, or was that sort of it for you, just to test yourself that time and leave it there type of thing?
Well, right now, I'm gonna focus on just it's an MMA thing right now, and then my contract's up with ACA. We'll see. So I never want to close the door on anything. Always keep my opportunities open. So never say never. But right now, I got this tournament coming up. I'm just focused on that and winning that and getting my title back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, fair enough. Good to know the options there. You mentioned about sparring with Deontay Wilder as well. You mentioned about that. Now I have to touch on that. To be 100% frank with you, I wasn't aware of that until this call. I mean, I've seen a lot of your fights. I've followed what you've been doing for a long time, but that thing was news to me, and all, I'm a straight up guy, so I'm just going to say that. So for myself personally, and for the fans and other fighters watching this, let's talk about that. I mean, his power sounded immense, but just walk us through. I mean, I've been in with on the show with one or two guys who have fought him. One guy said his power was the strongest thing ever. What rattles your ancestors, all that. One other guy said it was amongst the hardest punches he's faced, but not the hardest punches. So I don't know. But in your own words, man, just what you'd say about sparring with him. I don't have one really specific question, just the experience in your own words, really.
That guy that said that it was like it wasn't the hardest line. That dude hit like so. We did 18 rounds, only scheduled for like someone supposed to spar 6. And I was doing good, hitting with jabs. I back him into the corner, I hit with the hook coming out of the corner. And then I turned and he hit me with the hardest right hand. I mean, like 30 seconds in the first round, like he didn't knock me out, but it buckled me. Like it's been the hardest I've ever been hit in my life. I mean, every vertebrae in my spine popped, knees buckled. I think I had an out of body experience. Like it was man, like that dude hits hard, really freaking hard. Like I said, because he sits on his punches. When he is sparring, he's more technical. It's really weird. But when he gets out there, he's like, it's crazy. Like he loses a little bit of technique, but the dude still hits hard, man. Because you got to think, I am 6'2", he's 6'7". His punches are coming down. So yeah, he hits hard, crazy hard. Second hardest, I think, is Derek Lewis. I've been hit by Derek Lewis. And third hardest is Francis Ngannou. I've been hit by the hardest heavy hitters, except for Tyson Fury. I've been hit by him, but those three, those are the hardest I've ever been hit. Deontay Wilder, by far, hits way harder than those guys ever hit. And not to mention, he had freaking 18-ounce gloves on and almost dropped me.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that is wild, man. That is absolutely wild. Man, thank you for sharing that with us. As well as that, you mentioned there obviously a couple of these other guys as well. You mentioned Derek Lewis, you mentioned Nagano, you mentioned these guys. You've been in there with a lot of guys. Which fights do people bring up the most when they're talking to you in terms of like the ones that you get recognized for? Because you know how it goes with this. I mean, sometimes the toughest guy that you've fought could be like an obscure name or something. I mean, that happens a lot on this show, and we'll get to that in a minute. But who was the toughest guy? But before we get to that, yeah, man, which ones do people really bring up and want to ask you about the most, and what you get recognized for, and all that type of thing?
The fight I get recognized for the most is for either Daniel Cormier or Alexander Emelianenko. Yeah, either or. I was when I fought with Keanu Cage, I just felt like he had the whole team, he had everything figured out, and I didn't at that time. He was just better than me at that moment. I felt like, I made a mistake. I was doing good and made a mistake, and that's that. And like I said, we became friends after that, and I was able to train AKA. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, Daniel Cormier or Alexander Emelianenko, because that was supposed to have been one of the bloodiest fights of the year. And I beat him to a pulp, and they gave me they gave me a draw. So there's a whole storyline behind that. That after that fight, that's when the Russian people started really respecting me.
Yeah. Absolutely, and so they should as well, man. Because I mean, well, that was an absolute war. I mean, that's another story altogether. You mentioned about Cormier. You mentioned about keeping in touch with him. Do you keep in touch with many of your former opponents these days? I mean, I imagine there's certain guys you sort of hit it off with, you see them again or whatever. Other guys, not so much.
Let's see. I think some of my old past opponents, yeah. Not many of them, especially not now. I mean, most of those guys don't speak. Most of the Russian guys don't speak English, so it's just like when I go there, let's say we typically all fight on the same card, so we're all like, we'll all shake hands and give each other respect, and that's that. But yeah, I would say definitely not the Russian guys.
Fair enough. Yeah, you get the love from the fans and the Russian people, though. So I mean that makes up for
Yeah.
it, doesn't it? 100%. So I mentioned about toughest fights that you've been in. I mean, this is a question that comes up every interview I do, pretty much. But tough does come in different forms, doesn't it? I mean, we've talked about hardest hitters already. So with this, it might lean more towards like the technical side of things, or obviously sometimes things that are going on outside the cage as well that can make the fight tough. You know, you have to focus through that. That's a big one that
Yeah,
comes up a lot on my show. But you get where I'm going with this. Which one was the
yeah.
toughest and why? Let's take it away with
I
that.
would say, I mean, mentally, I would say when I fought Czech Congo to pure fact, my brother had passed away. That was a tough one. Uh, he passed away, I think, 2 weeks before that fight. So that was a tough one. I would say physically, when I fought Minikov, I don't know, man. That dude, like, I've never been picked up before, like across the cage. He was just like so freakish, like a freaking bear. He was just so strong, And I think plus at that time, um, I wasn't really taking my career as serious as I should have. I think I only trained like a month for that fight, and he's a freaking monster. I should, take him 2 or 3 months. I like to run that one back eventually. But I would say physically him, because he was so freaking strong, and mentally Czech Congo.
Yeah, absolutely. I like how you've broken that down physically and mentally as well. That's very cool because that is something I like to do with these. Um, talking about the side that people don't see, which is the mindset, something I like to get into. You mentioned then obviously about competing after your brother's passing. I'm sorry for your loss, by the way, because
Thank you.
that's not an easy thing at all. You mentioned competing and sort of pushing through these types of situations. On the build up to a big fight, basically, what is your mental process? I mean, are you one of these people who visualizes, runs through the fight? Are you one of these people who puts it out of your mind altogether? I mean, you must have your own process you've developed over the amount of fights you've had. So, what is that?
The whole it's the whole week. Just walking with confidence, thinking you're the best, knowing you're the best. Like you can't let any kind of doubt get in your head because doubt will mess you up. So it's about it's about mental exercises at that point. Like knowing you're best, thinking you're the best. Feeling good. Just eating right because if you don't eat right, you don't have right nutrients and you won't perform the right way. So it's everything. But definitely just it's people don't realize like your mind's a strong thing. If you tell yourself you can't do it, you're not going to be able to do it. And so it's just staying mentally strong during the week. you know and like for me, it's like it's yeah I used to not taking the moments, right? Now I'm taking the moments. I'm in an awesome place. I get to travel the world for free. I get to beat people up, make a lot of money doing it, and see things, see the world, see different cultures. So it's like now I'm like older now. And like I learned from Czech Congo. But when I fought Czech Congo, he was so nice. He shook my whole team's hand. He was very respectful. At the end of the day, this fight game is just business, right? So you got to treat it like a business. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just go out, just know, like during the week, I'll talk to friends, I'll just joke, cut out my manager, like it's just relaxing before the moment, and then as the moment comes, right, you just, like there before the fight, I don't know, it's weird, I walk in circles, right? I'm like circling my prey, circling my prey, circling my prey. It's just like Mike Tyson said, right? He may be nervous, he may be nervous, but anytime, like when it came, lights were on, every step he took towards that ring, he became more and more confident. And that's what you have to do. You have to be confident because, like I said, doubt, just a little bit of doubt in this game will mess you up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love touching on that with the mindset and everything because, like I said, it's something people don't see. Other fighters, other competitors will know they'll have their own methods. But for some people, especially those people watching the fight, it's almost an invisible thing. Plus, the life lessons you shared there as well, like I said right at the beginning, they are applicable to any walk of life. Which leads me to another question that I like to ask. It's actually a big part of the reason why I do these in the first place, which is fighting or not, people who want to achieve a big goal, a big dream, whatever it is, they want to achieve something. What advice would you give people? Because throughout this call today, we've touched on some fantastic advice, man. There's no two ways about it. We've touched on some valuable life lessons. and there's probably more than you can share in one go. But if there was sort of 2 or 3 key ingredients, if you like, someone comes to you and says, man, I want to do something big in whatever area. I know it's going a little bit deeper, but what would you say to those people in terms of like what they need to do, type of thing?
Let's say if somebody want to come to me and say, I want to be a champion in MMA, right? Just come starting out. First of all, I would tell them to take their time, right? Go through the amateurs the right way. Feel comfortable in the cage, right? Because at the end of the day, your amateur record doesn't count when it comes to your, when you come to MMA. Take your time there, take your time. And once you get to the pros, don't just go to like you may be amazing, right? And there's a very few percentage that can go from a little league show to the UFC, right? That's like going from, for us, it's an American saying, like going from high school to the NFL. Like it's just those guys are too big, too massive. Like, so my thing is, look, take your time, right? Go to a smaller show, and then from a small show, maybe King of the Cage. From King of the Cage, you go find, so it's like it's a process, right? And then go overseas. Go see all walks of the world of life. Go experience that, and then get to the UFC and see what you can do. So it's like just take your time, put the work in. Like Kobe Bryant, basketball player, like he said, he would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I started doing this 4 o'clock in the morning. From 4 to 6, he'd work out. Then he would take a break, then work out from like 11 to 2, then take a break, and then work from whatever, and then something. So if you get up early enough, you can have one more practice a day, and that one more practice over time will set you apart from everybody else. So it's finding, it's about setting yourself apart from everyone else. And also, get out of your comfort zone, right? In this game. One thing that I hate that people do in this game is they pad their records, right? They have all these fights against guys with 1-0-1, 0-11, 1, like that gives you false sense of security. Because when you get to the UFC, those guys are monsters, right? So you see a lot of those guys weed themselves out because they try to pad their records and they couldn't. If you can't last, if you can't hang with the guys that are in the UFC, you probably shouldn't get to the UFC. If you're scared to fight those guys that are in the UFC, you shouldn't be in the UFC, right? So go out there, take challenges. Because if you don't take challenges, you get to UFC, you will be embarrassed, And like I said, just the training helps the mindset in the fights. So train hard mentally, so you're there, you're locked in. There's a lot of things I can tell people. I'm just trying to put it all together, but take your time, lock in, put the work in, because like what I did, I was such a good athlete, right? I kind of relied on my athletic ability, right? And thing to set you apart from the champions is those guys are athletic and they put the work in. So don't rely on your athletic ability. Put the work in. Take challenges. Don't be scared to take your lumps in this game, because I promise you, everyone's taking their lumps in this game. You don't just go in the gym and start kicking ass. Like my first time I sparred was Thiago Silva. He damn near blew on my knee. Like, and I already thought my whole career after that one, like, I don't know if I really want to do this, but like, I believed in myself. I stayed the course. I took my lumps, and now I'm handling them out. So, that's my little advice for these young fighters coming. It's a lot, but it will make you a champion if you can follow it.
Yeah. Wow. I knew that would be a good answer, man, but that's a really, really good answer mainly because there's a bunch of lessons sort of condensed and distilled and put together in there. Hello, we got a
It's my little one.
hello, what's your name?
What's your name? Say Gigi.
Gigi?
Right.
No, she's shy. Yeah. No.
Yeah, computer back for it, please. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries, man. That's all good. Family is it's a blessing, So, what was I saying before that? Yeah, so much was distilled in that, man. It's a beautiful message, and there's a lot. Loving the process. That's a massive one. In actual fact, I would say that's one of the key ones from so many people I've interviewed. The people who win the most seem to enjoy the process the most. They're not all about the results. They're about getting better and better each time, and then the results seem to just multiply and everything. The amateur thing, man, there's so much. We'd be here all day if we went off into each one. But thank you. There's some amazing wisdom in there, which, like I said to you before, big part of why I do these personally. So if it reaches one person and sets them on a little bit of a better path than what they were on before, then we've done our work. So moving into the last couple of things, just for the sake of time and your time and my time and taking time out of our day and everything like that. We did obviously touch on the mental preparation. The physical training, I mean, obviously for MMA, it's very diverse and everything. I don't know how much you'd like to share about this, but basically getting an inside track of a day in the life of an elite MMA fighter, in terms of some of the things you do on the daily grind. Um, might seem almost a little bit mundane to you because you do it every day, but I think people will find it interesting. These days with social media, obviously people can get a little bit of a peek into what people are doing, but still, the work ethic that it takes is next level, man. So in terms of like your daily routine on the build up to a fight or anything, what does that look like?
Yeah, so when this training camp time, it's fighting three. We're training 3 times a day, So the morning time is conditioning, and we either have wrestling or grappling, or we have sparring, or we have either have kickboxing bar or MMA sparring. So it's 3 times a day, 6 days a week. And it's like it's a redundant cycle. It could be boring. Like some people you get sick of it. You train, you eat, you sleep, you train, you eat, you sleep, you train, you eat, you sleep, you train. Because at the end of the day, you gotta remember that there is a man that you're gonna be locked in the cage with that's gonna try to take your head off. So you have to do what you can do, prepare yourself for whatever he brings. So it's like, yeah, we train 3 times a day. Like I said, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is conditioning days. So I'll do conditioning Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then I'll do like mid work with my coach, and then I'll do like grappling at night, like jujitsu at night. Tuesday and Thursday, I'll do my sprints in the morning. Then in the afternoon, I'll do wrestling and I'll do sparring at night, or either um, kickboxing sparring at night or MMA sparring at night. So it's always, like, and the thing is with this game, like it's easy to cut corners, right? Because you have nobody watching you. So, you gotta once I started taking this as work and not just as once I started taking my job serious, right, and making it that job and not just a gig, you know, that's when you start seeing, the results. So you have to treat it like a job. Like you got to clock in to work. If you don't clock in to work, you don't get paid. And I tell people all the time, like, don't be upset about the results you didn't do from the work you didn't get, from the work you didn't. So don't be upset by the results you got from the work you didn't do. You know.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's a valuable lesson, man. It is having that professional mindset to it. And it's a funny thing really, because a lot of people, they are professionals even in a fight game, on paper, but whether or not they have the mindset to it, and I'm not criticizing anyone or aiming that to anybody, but yeah, when you see people start taking it serious and everything, yeah, the results are next level. So the last couple of things then, because you've got things to do, you've got obviously your family and people who need you and everything. So, and you've got more of your day to go than I have, because it's over here it's about 9 p.m. Well, it's coming up on 10 p.m. So you've got more of your day to go, your side, in the afternoon. So the last couple of things, obviously you've achieved a great deal, and today I'm blessed and honored to have heard about some of it, and so are the people listening to this. And I believe that before you're done, there'll be quite a bit more that you will achieve as well. But I'd like to get your thoughts on basically how you would like to be remembered as a fighter. And the reason I say the best is yet to come is I don't mean this to be like a grim question of like it's all done or whatever, because you still got some big fights out there and you still got some big things on the horizon. So don't get me wrong, but just in terms of like your your legacy as a fighter, I mean, you've always fought the best, you've always taken a risky fights, you've always pushed yourself. I mean, a lot of things we've touched on some of it, but just to condense that a little bit, what would you say about that as a topic?
I would say I would want my legacy to be a tough fighter that never backed down, was mentally strong, and gave everybody a show. That's I live my life as a gladiator. Like I don't complain, I don't bitch, I don't whine. I put my head down and I go to work. If things don't go my way, so what? I put my head back. I put my, hold my head high, and I still go to work. So that's what I want my legacy to be. It's just a tough motherfucker.
Well, I definitely think that's already set in stone, really, isn't it? I mean, everyone knows that already. And yeah, I mean, everything that comes from here just cements that a little bit further. But I would say it's already set in stone as. But yeah, I mean, thank you for answering that, man. Because like I say, I don't mean it to be like a grim question, like oh, it's all over. Because you got some stuff left in the tank, man. It's just getting that reflection is something people. Yeah. So, what was the other thing? So, really, the last thing to do before we close out, before we wrap this up, is just to get anything you would like to say to your fans, your supporters around the world. Obviously, when it comes to this interview, some people will be finding out a bit more about you. A few people may be hearing about you for the first time. I don't know, but even if they've heard of you, hopefully they get more knowledge. But there'll be a lot of people, man, who follow your fights and watch all your fights and follow you extensively anyway. There'll be a lot of your people watching this. So, to those people who've been loyal and supported you in any way that support manifests itself, what would you say to those people, please, as the last question?
I want to say just thank you to everyone that's always had my back, through thick and thin, 'cause we've had some ups and downs. And I respect all you and I love all you. And the ride's not over and we're gonna get that belt back.
Absolutely. Yeah, the best is yet to come, I think. So amazing. Well, champ, we've talked about a lot. I want to thank you for your time, first of all, taking time out of your day. I want to thank you for being an open book and sharing so much stuff from the heart, and especially the lessons and the inspiration and everything, but also, sharing the highs and the lows and being so sort of brutally honest about everything. I know that's the type of person you are, but I appreciate that and the way it's come over in this show. So yeah, just the last thing for me to do is just say thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate everything.
Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.